Hello to everyone, and welcome to this lesson of Introduction to Blockchain and Cryptocurrencies. This will be one of the lessons focused on the technology and cryptocurrencies, so you can have an understanding of what you are investing, what is the technology behind, and why this is going to be huge in the future. But first, let me show you this disclaimer. So for now, so you can understand the blockchain, and we can say that it started back in 2008 with Satoshi Nakamoto's piece of article in a magazine talking about a technology called blockchain and subjacent cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. This technology was created and designed in order to avoid any intermediaries between any transactions, any user, and avoid then the control from the central banks and the banks themselves. This was originated, this idea was originated not on this year, but this was before there were before programs like this, but not focused on currency or value, but on exchanges between users without intermediaries, information like music, files, films, series, video games, in a famous program called Emule. So this idea came from eliminating intermediaries and how this was this designed by Satoshi. Satoshi says that if there is no only one ledger, only one data storage center in which we can have all our money and it could be hacked and it could be manipulated. How is it that a software can link several computers acting as nodes, so these computers can validate transactions? And since there are a lot of transactions and a lot of computers validating them, we can say that there is trust in this system, since a lot of computers, a lot of people is seeing the same thing. This is focused. This was focused first on erasing intermediaries like banks in transactions between users and between people. But in the meantime, since this year, since 2008 up to now, until these days, this blockchain technology has found a lot of more utilities, like, for example, data storage, where you can have all the information from the transactions storage within the blockchain, within the technology. All the computers that are integrated within the blockchain, linked by nodes, are storing the same data, and for that we can say that this transaction data cannot be manipulated and is unhackable. So we will have something amazing, because it is transparent. We can say everything, we can see the transactions, and we know that this transaction has occurred and there is no manipulation behind it, and we can know which person has done anything or not. Okay. In the meantime, this blockchain technology has been developed by other companies, but we will tackle this in other lessons. So for you to know now that Bitcoin, which is the the main cryptocurrency with the highest percent of market capitalization right now, and the most liquid currency or cryptocurrency right now in the market. We can say that Bitcoin is originated and is working on a technology which is distributed, a data storage computer or computers which are distributed all around the world and linked by the same software. Okay, so this will be considered a change in the paradigm of the economy, in which all the central banks are controlling the monetary policies, and all the price of the currencies are kind of manipulated by financial institutions and these central banks, whose policies usually drives the population into financial crisis, and other situations, which are part of the economic cycle we know exists from the beginning of the history of the humanity. So, simplifying this, Bitcoin has a lot of zero. In fact, it has specifically 18 digits. So we can buy with 1 cent of dollar, or we can buy $1 of Bitcoin and having storage in an account which can be created unlimited right now, and they all have different type of numbers, as you may see. Every account has its own and irreplaceable direction address. So as you may see, everyone, you can have a balance in each address, and you will be the only one who has this access. All this is accumulated and stored in the blockchain, so everyone can have access to it. And since the computers which we call miners are the ones who are verifying the transactions and the money, which is in every ledger, in every wallet, we can, on every account, we can say, no, every phrase we see here, we could be considered as a wallet of Bitcoin. There are other blockchains. Bitcoin is not the only blockchain that exists right now. It's the most famous, absolutely. So the miners here, once the transactions are made between ledgers or between wallets, or you storage your money, these miners are the ones who are validating these transactions and assume takes responsibility of eliminating the double cost between the accounts, where since, for example, right now with the banks, if you make a transaction and you send it to another guy or another person to other place, you need the bank to erase the money or this amount from your account, and then you need a bank or an intermediary to increase the same value you sent in the other account. With the blockchain, you move the Bitcoins and you can transact with them without any intermediary, since all the miners, all the computers are validating the transactions and looking that this Bitcoin is going from one side to other side. So for now, we have this, and and this is coming from from evolution, from the humanity, which is coming from a trend not unusual for us. No, for example, take the medicine industry. If you got sick 1,000 years ago, you should have prayed to God so you can be safe from your illness, or you have assumed that you were sinned, and you were being punished by God, and this is why you were suffering. Then the medicine appeared depending on the theism. I believe that the higher power will solve our problem. God. Theism gave away to humanism. We went to human experts. Instead of shamans and priests, he or she patted our backs until we coughed. Maybe we'll get a little hammer that will hit our knee, and the doctor will say, "Take 2 aspirins and call me in the morning." This was fine, because there were so many diseases and illnesses we couldn't solve that the human was ultimately flawed. For example, the President of the United States of America, George Washington, the former president, died because doctors thought that leeches will suck to illness out of his body. And even now, 250,000 deaths from human malpractice occur each year. So we passed to dataism, where the data solve much of the problems. Instead of the doctor just looking deep into your eyes with a bright light, they now send you over to get an MRI or EEG or even a genetic test. So in the near future, the doctor will feed this data into a database, which could be blockchain, and the database will then say what likely illnesses you have, what medicines you need, and what surgeries you have to take. And robots will take part of the surgical process. So the average lifespans will go up every year from now on. We can take another industry. For example, we can say war. 3,000 years ago, if you see the tribes or kingdoms prepare for war, they will pray to the gods. They will have festivals and sacrifice, and then go to war. It was assumed that the country with the most powerful gods will win the war. One of the most sacred texts in the Hinduism, for instance, is simply only about war. Who was the winner? The side this had Krishna, the most powerful god. So you can see that the war is coming from the religion, and in every religion we have seen aspects of war. Okay, so then we pass out to bullets and people. Humans were the ones who decided when the war was coming, and when the war was coming, and where it is going to happen. Whoever had more bullets and people on the ground is the one who will win the war. But right now, we think we are at war. Yes, I think we are at war. So a war is being fought every day all around the world, and this is fought with data. Right now, all the country with more data is the country who is winning the war against the other countries. For example, some country every day is trying to bring down the electric grids of the Eastern European countries by hacking into their easily hacked older computers. So since there is no good hardware, having this knowledge, these countries could be easily attacked. For example, we saw a whiff of the data wars, a screenshot but no more of the US election from the Facebook scandal we may see the last month. Okay, was the election manipulated? Why this information was passed from Facebook to the election campaign? We know this will be happening further, and that will never stop. So the data wars are in full force right now, and the people reading about all this information in the newspapers are only reading a rough draft of the history that eventually will be written by the greatest hackers of data in this world. So I encourage you to take out a $1 bill, okay? And look at the back. It says, "In God we trust," a leftover remnant of the theism. If you can trust God, you can trust this dollar bill. But even then, trust our founding father and the signature of the secretary. This is a contract, not just a piece of paper, the dollar bill. Right now, cryptocurrencies are the next generation. You need to have to trust humans to make money with the dollar bill, with the actual currencies. But humans make mistakes, and mistakes about money may change a lot of humans and could be disastrous for us. So having the blockchain technology and the cryptocurrencies beyond are a new paradigm of the humanism and the future of the civilization as we may know right now. Okay, so for now, we know that the cryptocurrencies are going to be huge, and they are not in a bubble because they represent value. First of all, because they represent a storage of value. You can create value in your life, for instance, through your savings. You have some savings, you have work, and you keep it on your bank account from your job, or you build a business that has some value and you sell it, or you have a house and you sell it. You need to keep this value you created, okay? You need to bottle up it. So originally we used to look for a storage of value in the gold and precious metals, which represents some characteristics, for example, for jewelry, and it was really demanded. So gold, for example, has some intrinsic value. It can be used as an electric conductor, for instance. It has antibiotic properties, even though it probably has about $60 in intrinsic value. So we may say, okay, this has a huge value, but the intrinsic value could be no more than 60. The rest of the value is for the millennia. People have relied on it as a story of value. So maybe we give the value of what we think this asset has. So if I think the gold or Bitcoin are a good storage of value, it will have the price and the value we think it will have. So the Bitcoin which is the most storage of value cryptocurrency, the most famous and most used. It was first seen like this by the Chinese back in 2015, where the Central Bank of China decided that, seen that the Chinese people has more than 40% of power of saving from their money, from the monthly income. So the central bank analyzes the situation and realizes that they needed to keep continue the growing the country. So they decided to devaluate the yuan coin, the currency, the local currency, and and increased taxes. So what happened? Where was the response from the Chinese people? They saw Bitcoin, a good price, not manipulable, cannot be unhackable. The government cannot have access to your Bitcoins because they are in a distributed location. So if they want to hack it, if they want to take it, they have to hack all the computers from the blockchain. So it could be not only impossible, but too costly, too expensive for them. So it makes no sense to spend a lot of money just to take a little portion of the Bitcoin the population has in storage in the computer or in a ledger nano, as you may see, as a cold wallet, as we will be talking about wallets in further lessons. But all these Chinese created the first hype situation in this market, driving the price of the Bitcoin from below $1,000 to $3,500. So going back to the storage of value used by the gold. Usually, for example, the gold was used to back paper currency, until everyone decided that in God we trust. Seemed that to have more intrinsic value than the metal itself. So it makes no sense, but it was the situation. And Bitcoin, considered as a store of value, could be a great example to see if a correlation of the price of the Bitcoin with any government change, could be, for example, Argentina. Argentina, as you may know, is known for being a horrible country as far as how they treat their currency. They have had hyperinflation. The government has seized the money directly out of the bank accounts. There is black market. There is even something called a blue market. The currency is a mess, and very difficult to trade. Even I don't trade it, there is no pair in the forex markets of the Argentinian peso against US dollar. Quite difficult, exotic pair. So whenever it looks uglier than usual, Bitcoin spikes, So it has a correlation, beautiful correlation, where the Argentinian that are wealthy, are gotten smarter. They know that they can rely on their currency, or even in gold, to get their wealth out of the country in an emergency. So these people are using Bitcoin. This is the canary of the coal mine. A clue as to what will come. Argentina is the wretchedness. Its wretchedness has pointed toward the future. in our faith in human disappears. Our reliance on stable and trustworthy data will rise. So we know that Bitcoin could be the next generation currency for paying things or sell things. So that's the next thing. I have a storage of value, but as far as I know, I can use it also to pay. I can also use to charge. So first there was barter. But think about the problems of this. For every 2 items, people have had to figure out what the items were worth relative to each other. If I had a pair of shoes and I wanted an apple, how many apples would I get for a pair of shoes? But what if I had only one pair of shoes? I'm a clover. And I want an apple and some milk. Do I need to cut my shoes in half? And with hundreds of possible items to barter, that's tens of thousands of change rates is too complicated. So many made out of a hard-to-get metal become a common store of value that can be easily traded because one side of the transaction always has the same value. So negotiation must be easier. Again, I say, one side of the transaction always has the same value, but all depends. What if supply went up and nobody told us? Well, that's a big problem cryptocurrencies solve. And we will get into that all pros in a moment. First, we have the evolutionary direction to everything in the world is moving in. It answers why the rise of cryptocurrencies is just an inevitable and natural evolution of money. That's something we will see on the next lesson. Hope you enjoyed this. And let's see you in the next lesson. Have a nice day.